Hello, I'm Kerry Shamblin, and I practice Jyotish, also known as Vedic Astrology. I have been offering a monthly forecast since 1999 where I track how the planets are moving through the sky and how they may be affecting our life on Earth. I also work directly with others through counseling, teaching, and mentoring.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry with the week ahead look for April 5th through the 11th. And I'm just going to be honest, I am really sad. I had a hard week with a big loss, and feels good to try to do normal things like look at what the moon is doing. So here I am. I'm going to do my best because there's a lot going on. So I am through the course of this little video, I might mention the whole entire April forecast, which had a lot in it. So I'll put a link to the April forecast. It is just audio, so it might be worth a listen or a read through. I also did a video last week, an explainer video about Kala Sarpa and Kala Amrita Yoga. And we're going to be coming in, I'll be mentioning that a lot in the next few months. So here we go. There's that link for you. Okay, so let's look at last week a little bit, just looking back. Last Sunday started with the moon and K2 together. I should have known that would be a tough kickoff for the week. So I think that was Sunday and Monday. Anywho, that all happened. And that was the moon starting to wane and go at the full moon happened, and then we have the waning moon now. So we're beginning this week with a deeply debilitated and waning moon. And it reflects a sense of mental disconnect. I'm just letting the wind go on. I mean, it was really calm literally 5 minutes ago, but now we have wind, sort of reflecting what I'm saying. So there's a strong trio of planets up there in Pisces. In the upper left corner, you can see Mars, Sun, and Saturn, all in Pisces, which is the final sign of the zodiac. And this trio, to me, calls strongly for facing the consequences and endings with a sense of needed finality. So Saturn in Pisces is the slow-moving pillar of this moment, reminding us that all things on Earth come to an end, while at the same time, life continues to flow. So the powerful energies of both Mars and the Sun surrounding Saturn, I think, shows our desire to have strategy and control, and think about our own self-preservation and personal things. And we're attempting to express all that in this constantly shifting environment where physical reality and spiritual awareness collide. So that's going on in Pisces. We also have Venus, sensitive and beauty-oriented Venus, continues to move through fiery Aries all this week, reflecting the need for compassion and diplomacy in the face of aggressive disconnect or aggressive confrontation. Work hard on connections this week and maintaining relationships through the hard times. We also have the mechanism in the air signs with Jupiter in Gemini and Rahu in Aquarius. it's like Jupiter's trying to send positive and hopeful and guided energy into this really dynamic and chaotic churning that Rahu is causing, and Mercury is riding along with in Aquarius. So it's Jupiter's aspect is helpful, but the waves might just seem so big right now that the idea of moving forward and into better times ahead just seems like that's elusive. So this is a week for small steps toward organization in the midst of big picture changes. So that's what I got to say for the overview. And then, so you can see this is Sunday, April 5th. This is also Easter. Sending Easter wishes to all who celebrate. To me as a kid, when I used to go to church, the idea of Easter always felt like this renewal. It was kind of like a laugh in the face of this, death thing. And it's this feeling of spiritual renewal and continuing connection, right? No matter what happens on the planet, right? It's this feeling of divine connection. That's what I always felt like Easter was. So happy Easter for all of you who celebrate and pay attention to that. You can see that, let's just divide the week into 3. Okay, so all of this week, the moon is going to stay in Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. And it'll just hit 3 signs. So the Sunday, Monday, and part of Tuesday, we're going to have that moon in Scorpio. And the relationship, and the moon is like our mind and even our physical vitality. The moon is in a weird relationship while in Scorpio at the moment because of where Venus and Jupiter are. It might just feel like every relationship or every good thing is disjointed. Could be especially feeling that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, the moon moves into Sagittarius. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the moon will have that feeling instead. So Jupiter aspecting the moon is great, but that's also Saturn aspecting the moon. And having a trine energy in the fire signs with Venus and Ketu, it's kind of that feeling of things stop, but things flow. So that's a Wednesday, late Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday feeling. And then Friday and Saturday, the moon will have moved to Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Again, it puts the moon out of aspect from Saturn and Jupiter, but it's still Saturn's sign. And Friday and Saturday, to me, really feel like a calm before the storm, in the sense of the next week, April 12th through the 18th. There is a lot going on in that week. So I'll just list it off and then we'll get back to this week. So next week, on the 12th, the moon begins to move through Aquarius, which is where Rahu is. And that's the dynamic week of the month, right? When the moon is moving past all of the planets. So that starts, and then that Kala Amrita Yoga I've been talking about begins on April 14th, which is the same day that the sun moves out of Pisces and into Aries, leaving Mercury. Well, Mercury will be moving in. Mercury also moves into Pisces. So that leaves a Mercury, Mars, Saturn group in Pisces, which is getting closer and closer by the end of next week. All in Uttarabhadra Nakshatra. So I mentioned that in my April forecast. I talk about it extensively, between April 19th and 21st, that grouping of Mercury, Saturn, and Mars all together. April 17th, there is the new moon in Ashwini, which is just after the sun goes to Aries. The moon joins up. On the 18th, the day after the new moon, Venus moves into Taurus. And then we get that exact conjunction of those 3 planets in Pisces from the 19th through the 21st, which involves like multiple formats of planetary war, with Mercury and Mars and Saturn and Mercury and Saturn. And anyway, so this week, by the end of the week, it does feel like sort of quiet, but in the face of the next week being really big. The other one thing I wanted to mention was Ketu. Last week I mentioned about a parivartana between Venus and Ketu and the nakshatras that they were in, and somebody asked, well, didn't Ketu already move to Magha? Which is a good question, which brings up the whole reality of there's two ways to calculate where Rahu and Ketu are at any given moment. When I'm showing you these things, I have true node, Ketu, and Rahu set. True node is how I can tell whether they're retrograde or direct. That's what the true node calculation is. It accounts for the little wobble that Rahu and Ketu have sometimes. Mean node is taking their actual positions and sort of averaging it out, and so that it's like a always retrograde feeling. So mean node Ketu went to Magha on March 29th. And the true node Ketu will not shift until the 20th of April. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes there's weeks in between that true node and mean node calculation. And that's kind of why I started looking at true node after a while, especially for these current events and what's happening right now. That said, the mean node Ketu was enough to kick me in the gut for probably the hardest week of my life. So, anywho, all right. Let's start with day to day. What you're looking at here is the April 5th, 6:45 chart. So that's Sunday. The moon is Anuradha Nakshatra on that day. And actually it's Vishaka when you sing that at 0 degrees, but it pretty quickly moves into Anuradha. And this is like the deepest debilitation point for the moon, 3 degrees Scorpio. So this is a waning moon that's also debilitated and also lonely. There's no other planets really supporting this moon while in Scorpio. So because it's lonely and a week, our keywords for Sunday are strength and alliances. Even though it might appear that you're alone and by yourself, it's not true. We're all here. Okay, let's go to Monday. This is the 6th of April. And the moon, you can see, just has traveled a little further into Scorpio. This is Anuradha, the beginning of the day, and then into Jesta by the end of the day. And I'm also using my tithis, just not talking about it too much, but that's what helps me come up with these intuitive keywords. So Sunday and Monday are a lot the same to me because of the moon in Scorpio. Solutions and boundaries. Solutions and boundaries for Monday. Okay. Excuse me, you guys. I guess it's that pollen. It's nice. The weather is warm here. All right. So this is Tuesday, 7th of April, and 24 degrees. Scorpio is Jesta Nakshatra. Jesta goes all the way up to the edge of Scorpio. So sometime in the day on Tuesday, the moon is going to move over that tough borderline between Scorpio and Sagittarius and into the next sign in Nakshatra. So that's a Tuesday thing. What else? Yeah, still waning. Still waning moon. And this might feel like, Tuesday might feel like a big day. It's Mars's day. Strategy and security are the words for the day, for Tuesday. Strategy and security. Jesta is very, very much that way. The feeling of protection and making sure all of your stuff and your people are safe. It's a very Jesta kind of energy. All right, let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday is the 8th of April. And you can see that Venus is still solidly up there in Aries. This will be not much has changed. You look at Mercury. Mercury's going to change in the next couple days. It's going to move into Pisces. So on the 8th, this is Mula Nakshatra. And again, a kind of a good nakshatra for letting go and cleaning out things. So intense cleansing. Intense cleansing is our word for Wednesday. All right, then let's go to Thursday with the moon still in Sagittarius. And now you can see that Thursday might be a little bit of a different feeling. You're getting a really strong aspect from Jupiter to the moon. So if there's any hope to be found this week, we might find it on Thursday. Victorious renewal is the words I came up with. Victorious renewal on Thursday. This is Purvashada Nakshatra, which has a lot of flow to it. There's a lot of clean energy in Purvashada. Sometime on Thursday, also, the nodes, which have been retrograde for a while, will go direct. So just for those who are paying attention to that will happen sometime during Thursday. On Friday, you can see there's no underline under the Rahu and Ketu anymore. So this is Friday the 10th. Uttarashada, the next nakshatra, devoted discipline. Devoted discipline. This is a good day for initiating long-term things. Like if you have to start something that's going to take you longer than today, maybe wait till this Friday, this week. Something that I'm using devoted discipline because when we want to do something that takes a long time, we have to make sure we want it. We have to stay to the course. So the devoted discipline is what came to me. On Friday at some point, Mercury will also move into Pisces. You can see at 29:38 there. So, all right. And then we're at Saturday, the 11th of April. We've got the 4 planets up there in Pisces. Mercury's barely just made it in. The days are getting shorter. You can see my rising sign move to Aries. The sun is getting late in the sign of Pisces. And the moon, again, will be in Capricorn, and specifically in Shravan Nakshatra. Shravan's symbol is an ear. So the idea of listening and hearing, which takes a lot of moon energy, right? Moon is the reflector, so it takes things in, just like our ears take things in. So Shravan on Saturday, sensitive organization. We can try to make our small moves, but just be sensitive with yourself, with what other people are saying and telling you. Yeah, make it a quiet day next Saturday so you can hear what's going on, because next Sunday the 12th, I really think things are going to ramp up. We've got that moon moving into Rahu zone, and then through Pisces where all those planets are, and then into a new moon in Aries. So this week is something, but it might feel more like a prep, like let's prep for kind of a lot of dynamic energy ahead. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you all keeping an eye on the sky with me. And I also appreciate your feedback and your suggestions and your questions. So I hope you have a good week. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this presentation. If you are interested in following my work, look for Kerry Shamblin Astrology on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram. My monthly forecast is published in written and audio format on my website, planetaryinfluence.com, where you can join my email list or book a one-on-one session with me. My goal is to light your path toward a joyful and liberated life experience.